The show on the road. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for August 2nd, 2020. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ask everyone to mute your cell phones or other electronic devices, and I'll ask Rob to do a roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Apatow?
Here.
Trustee Dearborn? Here. Trustee Dahlman?
Here.
Trustee Swerk? Here. President Rins?
Here. All right. Item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, item 3 is quorum check. Rob, you want to go ahead and check quorum?
So for the month of August, the August 9th study session, I think I've checked with all of you, and that date is available. We'll be moving forward with that date. And then August 16th, regular meeting.
Yes.
All okay? Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, the August 9th study session next week is going to be a listening session for Village Council. We're inviting all members of the public to come and share their thoughts on issues related to gun violence and gun control. We really don't expect to do any deliberating, make any decisions. The whole idea is for us to get smart on this before we start talking. So it'll be a listening evening. So if you have thoughts on the issue, come on out and share them with us. I know there's a couple groups that are planning to attend, and I think it'll be a really enlightening evening and help us get a really good grasp of where the community is on these issues. So that'll be next week, and the 16th, business as usual, I guess, right, Rob?
Correct.
All right, item 4 is public comment. This is the time of the evening where anyone from the public can come up to the podium and address the Village Council on any items that are not on the agenda. So if you're interested in talking to us about something other than an agenda item, you're welcome to come on up to the microphone and share your thoughts with us. Seeing none, I will close public comment and we'll move forward with reports. First, trustees, Rob will go over with you first.
No reports tonight.
You look so lonely over there. We'll find you a friend soon.
I showered and everything.
Bob.
Well, some of you may have been down there, but on Saturday, the Green Bay Trail Day was held. It was really nice. I was down there early, so I didn't see the full crowd, but I know our friends from Lakota were down there taking notes and so on, and so hopefully some good information had, and it was really nice. There were a number of booths put up, and it was I thought they did a nice job down there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It deserves support.
You bet.
For sure.
You bet.
John?
No report.
Tina?
No report.
Okay. Village Attorney?
No report.
Village Manager?
Yes, just briefly, we received information last week that the plan review of the Hubbard Woods train station is taking a little bit longer. Union Pacific has requested specific utility plans to be submitted by Metra, and Metra's complying with that now. I don't know exactly when they're going to submit, but we are hoping that they'll be able to break ground on the project next year. So
Awesome.
it's a little bit delayed, but we're still watching it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, finally.
To the extent you'd hoped.
Yes, yeah. New platforms, ADA compliance elevators, all the bridge work would be replaced.
Great.
And the station would be rehabbed as well.
Great.
Which is ironic because they just spent 3 weeks patching together that rotten bridge so that it's safe enough to get them through to the construction period. So it's a shameful waste, but there it is.
But importantly, the village doesn't have to pay for this.
Right. Even better. Village President, I just have one announcement. Actually, I could probably give you 6 announcements, but I'll give you the one that's important. Trustee Kim Mancini has tendered her resignation as of July 27th. As you all recognize, she's not here this evening, citing personal reasons, and we all wish Kim the best. I think it's a great loss to Village Council. She was a really smart, hard-working individual, and always brought a lot to the conversation. And I'm sad that she's moving on, but you know, she's at a time in her life when there's a lot of things crowding space, and sometimes the volunteer stuff has to give way to take care of what really matters. So We wish her the best, and hopefully she'll be back here someday.
Yep.
So that's my report, and we'll move forward with the item number 6, which is approval of the agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove an item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Now we have the consent agenda. I'll ask the village clerk to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approval of Village Council meeting minutes for June 21st, 2022 regular meeting and July 12th, 2022 study session. Approval of the warrant list dated June 28th through July 8th, 2022 in the amount of $2,389,297.05. Ordinance number MC 02-2022 refuse curbside village code update for adoption. Resolution number R88 2022 MWRD intergovernmental agreement for $500,000 grant to the village for adoption. Resolution number R89 2022 approving a contract with GNL Contractors for water and electric building A structural floor replacement.
Great, thanks, Rob. All right, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
That motion carries, and I just want to let everybody in the audience or who might be watching at home and doesn't have a scorecard, that we just agreed to sign an agreement with the MWRD, which will provide us with a $500,000 grant, which is going to be used for the stormwater. So another $500,000 coming in doesn't hurt. So, and they have another round that we'll be applying for in the next month or so for hopefully another $500,000 on the same project if we can. So,
Chris, you want to just say what that stands for, the MWRD? That wasn't a challenge.
Metropolitan Water Reclamation District.
Okay, thanks.
I keep forgetting what the M is. So, okay, well, so we're past there. Item 8, ordinances and resolutions. There is none. Old business, there is none. And just so you folks know, there's actually 2 meetings tonight. So right now, we're going to adjourn sine die, which means without leaving, right? I'm learning all sorts of stuff tonight. This is awesome. So we can finish the business of the current council, close out that business, and then move forward with the new council. So my script here says the old council has adjourned. Oh, no, wait. May I have a motion to adjourn sine die?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dearborn? Yes. Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
That motion carries. Okay, the old caucus has adjourned. Oh, the old, I've had caucus on my mind today. I won't admit why, but I've had it on my mind. The old council is adjourned, and the village manager will now report the election results. Actually, the clerk will report
Yes. Correct.
the
Flip my
election
hat.
results. And then we'll administer the oaths of office for members of the council beginning new terms and for our new member of the council. So at this time, we'll excuse John, right,
Correct.
for a few minutes.
For a few minutes. Yep. Okay.
Thanks for your service, John.
So for village trustee, there were 3 offices. Robert Apatoff received 1,251 votes, representing 34.62% of the vote. Christina Dahlman received 1,199 votes, representing 33.19% of the vote. And Kimberly Colley Handler elected with 1,163 votes, representing 32.19% of the vote.
Awesome.
So now it's time to
Do your thing.
administer oaths of office. I'm going to go in alphabetical order.
Okay.
So trustee Apatoff, I think you're first. Down by the podium. Okay. Excuse me while I get rid of my pens. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Robert Apatoff,
I, Robert Apatoff,
having been elected to the office of village trustee
having been elected to the office of village trustee
in the village of Winnetka,
in the village of Winnetka,
in the county of Cook,
in the
County of Cook,
and the state of
and
Illinois,
the state of Illinois.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of village trustee
of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Trustee Dolman. Okay. Right hand, please. I, Christina Dolman,
Yes. I, Christina Tallman,
having been elected to the office of village trustee
having been elected to the office of village trustee
in the village of Winnetka,
in the village of Winnetka,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
in the state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of village trustee
of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Awesome. Thank you. Kimberly. I, Kimberly Handler,
I, Kimberly Handler,
having been elected to the office of village trustee
having been elected to the office of village trustee
in the village of Winnetka,
in the village of Winnetka,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
in the state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of village trustee
of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, you get to join us. Yes.
Want to
Yep.
grab my book?
Okay.
Come up here. Oh, good.
Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Okay, oh, you put it up. Thanks.
We all good?
All good?
All good.
Okay, now I will call to order the new village council, and we'll ask our village manager to do a roll call.
Trustee Apatow,
Present, here.
Trustee Dahlman,
Here.
Trustee Dearborn. Here. Trustee Handler,
Here.
President Ritz.
Here. Okay, item number 2 is appointments. I'm appointing, this issue is to appoint John Swerk to a 1-year term on village council. His term will expire on May 1st, 2023. John is filling a vacancy from Kim Mancini's resignation. May I have a motion to appoint John Swerk to the village council?
So moved.
Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously, and I will now ask Rob to swear in John Swerk.
Welcome back. Okay. I, John Swerk,
I, John Swerk,
having been elected to the office of village trustee
having been elected to the office of village trustee
in the village of Winnetka,
in the village of Winnetka,
in the county of Cook,
county of Cook,
in the state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United
that I will
States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of village trustee
of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Everyone else.
Thank you. I missed you guys.
This is where the parliamentarians have really won this year. We are actually going to read the council organizational assignments, which is something I've never done before. I was going to ask Rob to do it, but he looks like he just took off, and he's going to make me do it, so that's okay. Yeah, I'll read them. Okay, this is for the 2022-2023. President Pro Tem Andy Kripe, Warrens Kim Handler, Chamber of Commerce Rob Apatoff, EFC Andy Kripe, Plan Commission Tina Dahlman, Swank 1, me, Swank 2, Rob Bahan, Northwest Municipal Conference 1 is Kim Handler, Northwest Municipal Conference number 2 is Rob Bahan, Northwest Municipal Conference number 3 is me. Red Center, Rob Apatoff. Community Outreach Liaison, Kim Handler. I'm going to keep her very busy for the next year. The LPC Liaison is Bob Dearborn. Stormwater Infrastructure Liaison is myself and Andy Kripe. And the Post Office Liaisons are myself and John Swerk. May I have a motion to approve the council organization assignments by omnibus vote? Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. Moving along. Ordinances and resolutions. Item A is ordinance number M11, 2022, 564 Green Bay Road, mixed use, building, special use, and variations. Council will be considering an application proposing construction of a new 3-story mixed-use development building. Community Development Director David Schoen is here to run through the project with us.
Good evening. Yes, this evening we'll be reviewing a 3-story building with you that's proposed by the applicant, a legal entity associated with Engel and Volkers. Engel and Volkers would occupy the ground floor and the base.
David, is your mic on?
Engel and Volkers, thank you, will occupy the ground floor and the basement, and then there will be 2 residential rental units, 1 on each floor above. The request, given that parking is on at grade behind the commercial space on the ground level, that requires special use approval. And then the applicant is requesting a rear yard setback variation and a reduction of the number of required off-street parking spaces for the residential use, and also a certificate of appropriateness. So quickly to go over the site, the subject property is located on the west side of Green Bay Road between Elm and Spruce Streets. As the zoning map indicates, the property is located in the C2 General Retail Commercial District, but it is not within the Commercial Overlay District. The land use map for the community designates the parcel as appropriate for mixed-use development. The subject property is located in a commercial area with offices, restaurants, and other commercial uses in the immediate vicinity. The proposed use of the site is then consistent with a comprehensive plan. Included in the packet, we included some photos. The site consists of a building that most recently was the home of the French Institute of the North Shore. It would be removed to accommodate a new building. The applicant has submitted a demolition permit, and the LPC has reviewed it and has found that the property, the building is not significant, and therefore a demolition could proceed once a building permit is issued for the site, subject to the council approving the request this evening. This is a photo showing the rear of the site from the alleyway. This is a site plan of the property representing that the building would have vehicular access from the alley along the rear of the property. As you can see here, the proposed setback would be 3 feet from the rear property line along the alley, which does require the zoning variation as a minimum of 10 feet is required. Due to the angle of the rear lot line, the proposed rear yard setback does increase to 6 feet at the southwest corner of the building. So as I said, on the ground level, Engel Invokers would occupy this space. This, I should say, represents the basement level. Given that the site is located outside of the overlay district, a real estate office is allowed as a permitted use and doesn't require special use approval. So the use is not on the council's agenda tonight. The special use has to relate to just the parking, which is associated with the residential use. Engel Invoker currently occupies office space in the Laundry Mall on Chestnut Street, and they would relocate their office to this new space on Green Bay Road should it be approved. As represented here, the parking would be at the rear of the structure. When presented at the Plan Commission and the Zoning Board, the applicant was showing 2 parking spaces plus a car lift over one of the spaces. Their attempt was to show that they could provide 3 parking spaces, which would be the minimum requirement for the residential uses. The code doesn't recognize lift as a required parking space. Thus, even if they provided the lift, it would still need the parking variation. But since the ZBA and Plan Commission have reviewed the application, the applicant has withdrawn the lift as part of their request, partly in response, and I can let them elaborate, that at the Plan Commission and Zoning Board level, they thought it wasn't necessary given the location of the property in close proximity to a lot of uses in a mixed-use district, as well as to public transportation. And then, as I mentioned before, there would be apartments above, 1 on each level, of approximately 1,400 square feet. And this is a floor plan of that. I've already talked about the parking, so I won't go over that again unless you have questions. And the plan also calls for a rooftop deck for use by the residential tenants. Included in the materials was a building section showing the various levels of the structure, as well as elevations of the front and the rear, calling out materials. The applicant also provided building rendering, I should say. The building will have a brick facade constructed with a structural brick. They have since provided a brick sample showing, in response to design review board comments, something more would be a more common-sized brick. It's still a structural brick, but it has this groove here that would be filled in with mortar so that it would have the appearance of a more common size brick. And this is the color of the brick that they're proposing to use. The color of the brick is fairly similar to the existing brick color and to the building to the north, which is a painted brick, and it probably more closely matches this color. They will use Indiana limestone throughout the facade with the brick. They'll use that around the door and the windows. At the first level, the front door will be black, while the window trim on the commercial level will be white. And then on upper levels, again, the limestone around the windows, as well as the band or the band lines that run through the facade. And then the windows would be clad, again, with white. And any railing would be black, as illustrated in this rendering. As I mentioned at the board meeting, the Design Review Board did discuss the size of brick. To the left, what was presented to the Design Review Board, which was a brick that was a 4 by 12 approximately size brick. The board had concerns regarding that scale of brick on this type of building. They thought something what they would refer to as a more common size brick would be more appropriate, and so their recommendation was contingent upon the applicant presenting something in terms of a smaller brick. The applicant is presenting this current proposal, which will have the appearance of that smaller brick. So all three advisory bodies have reviewed and have made a recommendation. All three have recommended approval, and as I mentioned, the Design Review Board recommended the condition regarding the smaller brick and presented what the applicant is presenting to address the Design Review Board's concerns. So the ordinance for this item can be found on page 63 of the agenda packet. And so tonight, the council can consider introduction, or if you wish to consider waiving introduction and adoption. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll start out. Does anybody have any questions for David up here?
Real quick one, how much taller is the proposed building versus what was there?
We don't have an existing height of the existing building, but my recollection is that it would be a little taller.
Yeah, my only concern, and you'll check it through building permit?
And we don't have a building.
No, when you go through building permit process, you'll check snow load on the adjacent building to the north.
The what?
Snow loading,
Okay,
in case it gets too high on the existing roof.
okay.
And then, yeah, that's the only question I had.
David, a couple questions here. At the zoning board meeting, the 3-foot request on the ordinance, the variation versus 10 feet, and it says just in the application that, you know, that the 10-foot, the rear setback of 3 feet is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. What was the zoning board's conversation about the 3 feet versus 10 feet? I mean, that's really the one variation that is meaningful here. Is it that all the other buildings in the alley are closer than 10 feet, or what's the justification for that variance? And is the 10-foot just in that type of location just not practical? I mean, what's the reason for this?
The zoning board did discuss that issue. They did discuss, is there any sort of alternative in order to accommodate the 10-foot setback? In the end, the board concluded what you did in terms of the character of this alleyway and the buildings adjacent to it, that they thought it was appropriate to grant the variation.
David, isn't it true that the proposed setback is actually more generous than the current setback?
Yeah.
I seem to remember they were like 1'9".
Right, and you have to remember, again, because of the angle of the alley, there is a point of the current building that is closer than the 3 feet that they're proposing. And I can look up that number, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
I guess this gets into a little bit of review of zoning ordinances, you know, how they might be more applicable location to location and so on, and maybe the comp plan gets to that.
Yeah, and
zoning, because, you know, if this makes sense in that location, then it makes sense, and maybe the variance isn't even necessary.
Sure, and that is something we, as staff, have talked about, this 10-foot setback and what is it trying to achieve,
Exactly.
especially in a commercial district with an alley, so.
Okay.
Others? Rob, go ahead.
So I guess I look at the hot topic, which is parking. As the village gets cooler, the parking gets harder to find, which is very hard to find these days. So there's 2 spaces. They need 3, but we have to consider if 2's enough. And there's residential over for 2 floors. So are they assuming no residential parking in that structure, or are those 2 spots for the residents and none for Engel Volkers?
The 2 spots are for the residents.
So no spots for E and V?
Yes, so under our zoning ordinance, you're only required to provide parking for first floor commercial if you have, or the commercial use, if you have more than 2,500 square feet of commercial space. So from a zoning requirement, they are not, after we take out some common area elements or storage area elements that aren't included in that gross floor calculation, they are not required to provide parking.
Okay. Well, from a parking standpoint, I think moving from the laundry, which is busy all day, to Green Bay, which seems to have some more spaces after the Green Bay Cafe, I'm just trying to figure out how much traffic E&V thinks they're going to have at that spot, day in, day out.
Yeah, so they submitted a parking study that addressed that issue in terms of, and I can let them elaborate more on their operations and what they're experiencing, that there are fewer brokers regularly going to offices and conducting businesses, and that really it becomes the peak period of office meetings, all staff meetings, and they're experiencing doing more of that virtually since the pandemic. But again, the request before the council isn't the special use for the real estate office, it's for the location of the parking spaces for the residential use.
Okay.
Tim, you got any questions?
I do not.
Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was,
I thought we were done over.
no, I know, we're done
Sorry.
over here. I'm just curious, and I know this is not on the agenda, but I'm just curious because this would have been a perfect location to actually get more height, right, and get more units. I'm just curious, was there a height limit in the zone currently that we're looking at as part of the comp plan? Because the neighboring building is at least another 15 feet or more higher. As we look for density, not that I know parking is an issue and all those issues, but I was just curious, is there a height limit on this property?
Yeah, there is a height limit, and it's 45 feet.
Okay,
And I'm trying to remember the exact height of this structure. But I can let
because it's,
the proposed,
there's no height
the
variance.
proposed, including the stairwell that goes up to the rooftop is at 43 feet.
Okay,
So they would need to request variations to go up higher.
got it. That was my only question.
And then they wouldn't need another parking space or 2 for the residential. So
Right.
it kind of,
No, I
That's
get that.
22 there.
I get that. But you wonder how the not ugly, but the 1970-ish,
Right.
1960s building next door is higher. Because they're both outside of the overlay. Oh. Way back when. I was just curious, that's all. Oh, okay.
One other thing, the rooftop space is for residents, or is it for every common use?
They
Is it-
indicated for residents.
So both will share it, not just one, or is the
Yes.
top floor get it all?
what about the real estate office for the rooftop?
No, I said only the residents.
Just the residents?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Is there anybody from the audience who would like to speak on this issue? actually, Karen, would you like to say something or add your 2 cents? You don't have to, I mean, or your architect or your husband who I just met, or?
Karen Aronson, hi. I'm the co-owner with Paul of Anglin Volkers North Shore, and we love being up here. We wanted to stay in this area. Poor Chris has dealt with me many times, but I love being here. We love being in this community. We're very involved in the community. We love being in the laundry, but would love this opportunity because in real estate, we should own real estate, not rent it. So we want to contribute even more to the village. And in reading the plan, talking about needing more luxury rentals, et cetera, we chose rentals instead of condos. And we did choose only the 3 stories because of the park area. There are 2 stories because of the parking issue. Yep. So that was a very distinct reason we didn't go that extra higher. But we are really excited and hope that you will approve this because we think it will be a wonderful contribution to this village. Thanks.
So it didn't look like anybody else was interested in speaking on this, so I'll bring it back up to council for comments and discussion. So have at it, guys.
My only comment would be based on the lower boards and no one here tonight to waive introduction.
Okay, so that's one of the issues we'll have to deal with. Other thoughts, comments?
No, I think in reviewing what the lower boards have done, they've done a good job, addressing a lot of the issues. And I think for me, hearing that it's going to actually improve the turning radius, I think, in that alley is what I think I heard, because the current building is actually encroaching more. I think that's an improvement. And so worth, as a result, granting the variance.
Great. Bob, you got anything?
I have nothing, Chris.
Oh, great. Kim?
I will just say, I don't have an issue with the parking variance at all. I feel like the location of the building, anyone there will take advantage of public transportation. I did have some trepidation about the white matte brick, which I think some DRB members also did, but I understand as I look at some of the other locations for the company that that's part of their brand image, is having the white building with black trim, and I feel like the limestone trim, the black balcony, et cetera, adds enough of a traditional element that it mitigates any concerns I had about that. So I think it's a great project and excited to see it go up.
Yeah. You have anything else, Rob?
I'm okay. I think the height's good. I think it wasn't an overreach. I think that's nice little trim pieces and a balcony. I think it'll make it it'll fit in, which is good, important.
Well, I'm glad to see that all the tire tracks on Karen's back are finally paying off, because she knew exactly what she could bring to this council and get passed. So we appreciate that, Karen. Thank you for not making us go through misery and carnage and getting something approved here. I do think it's an attractive building. I think it's a nice replacement. I'm thrilled that we have more upscale rentals. We approved a project a couple months ago, so that worm is starting to turn in a good way, and I think it's just another step in the right direction for our community. So one question I have for council is everybody okay with waiving introduction and just getting them on their way? Yeah, I see nodding heads. Okay, then I'll go down that path. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M11, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. Secondly, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M11, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes?
Trustee Swerve?
Yes.
That motion carries. Congratulations, guys. Look forward to the demolition and the new building to come. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, moving along. Item B is resolution number R90, 2022. This is the police HVAC contract for adoption. Council is set to consider a purchase order for the police department regarding the placement of the police department replacement of the police department HVAC. And Chief Hornstein and Deputy Chief Brian O'Connell are both here this evening, and I guess, Mark, you're going to do the presentation?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. No. Good evening, President Rintz, Council. So, no, Deputy Chief O'Connell is going to do the presentation. So what this is last year when I presented our police department budget at the annual budget meeting, one of the items that I highlighted was the need for the replacement of our HVAC system. It's the single item that's in our capital improvement plan. So after that, I had asked Deputy Chief O'Connell to take the lead on the research for the project, and he's done just that. He's done a lot of work on this, really proud of the effort he's put into it, and he's going to go ahead and present his findings and recommendation to you tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief O'Connell.
Thank you, Chief Hornstein. So first, I'd like to thank President Rintz and council members for your time and allowing me the opportunity to present the police department's HVAC replacement project. Before I begin, I would like to take just one moment and introduce representatives here tonight from Trane. Ankur Bhatia, Account Manager, Tim Reynolds, Account Manager, and Nick Rex, Project Manager. I will do my very best tonight to answer any questions that you may have. But if there is a technical question that is outside my expertise, I will ask for the assistance of the men sitting behind me. And finally, before I begin tonight, I'd like to acknowledge Ankur and Anthony Vasquez, Assistant Finance Director for the village, for their countless hours and efforts to get us here tonight. So thank you to both of them. So let's begin. I thought about turning the heat up tonight just as a precursor, but I decided not to. The police department building was originally built in 1964 with a complete renovation in 1996. As part of that renovation in 96, the HVAC system was installed to include 5 rooftop units. You'll hear me throughout this presentation refer to them as RTUs. With the exception of one RTU that was replaced about 11 years ago, everything with our HVAC system is original, and it has reached the end of its useful life after 26 years. Unfortunately, over the last 4 to 6 years, the department has experienced costly and unexpected repairs to restore service in affected areas of the building. As a result of these costs, in 2021, we began researching replacement options for these RTUs with the assistance of our current HVAC maintenance vendor. At the time, the estimated replacement cost alone for the 5 RTUs was approximately $150,000. It was quickly realized, though, that only replacing the 5 RTUs would not solve the problems due to the lack of compatibility with system controls and mechanical issues. And as a result, a more in-depth solution was required, far beyond simply replacing the RTUs. Our existing HVAC system is a VVT system, a variable volume and temperature system. In other words, it's a voting system, meaning the system provides heating or air conditioning to portions of the building that are in the highest demand or that need it the most. So for example, our records department is a smaller room in our building. It is on the same grid as our classroom, which is much larger. The classroom is demanding air all day long to get from 74 to 70 degrees while pumping cool air into our smaller records department, never satisfying the temperature in records. So, On behalf of the staff and records, they are hoping for this approval of this project tonight so they could stop wearing coats in their office in July. In all seriousness, though, the reality of the system can be quite challenging to satisfy requested temperatures throughout the building. Since the existing RTUs were Trane equipment, I began my research on a more in-depth solution with the manufacturer, which is where I met Anker. Trane evaluated our system in the areas that needed replacement. Anker and his team provided me a few main considerations for our initial review. One, and probably the most important, switching to a more efficient VAV system, meaning variable air volume, and removing the voting system. Number two, offering us a full turnkey solution, which is of great benefit to have a sole source contracted vendor responsible for every area of the project. Number three, Trane was awarded the joint nationwide competitive bid, as well as being awarded the competitive bid for the state of Illinois for their equipment and their services. The bid was awarded through a governmental purchasing alliance for public sector procurement, called Omnia Partners. Omnia Partners is in compliance with our purchasing policies, ensuring competitive pricing. So Trane prepared a proposal for the required work that we needed, and that's dated July 18th, for the full turnkey solution for a total of $522,592. I need to emphasize that we are not simply replacing an old system, but with this proposed total, we will be receiving a complete, newly designed system. So here are just some of the upgrades that we will be receiving. A reduction of the 5 RTUs down to 3 more energy efficient ones. Repairing and upgrading failing VVT dampers, which would now be compatible with our VAV system. Removal and upgrade of old sensors, replacing all of the old boxes with new VAV boxes and supplying new ductwork. More individualized section temperature control. All of the required electrical, all of the required control installation, all of the crane rental, and the list goes on and on. The project will begin this fall with a completion goal of spring or summer of next year. I have done the research and checked with several references, cities and villages throughout the Chicagoland area that have had similar scopes of projects performed through Omnia Partners, Trane, that included a full turnkey solution. Every representative that I spoke to was 100% satisfied with the decision to contract Trane. So I want to thank each of you for your time and your consideration tonight with this project, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
All right, well, thanks, Brian, that's great. Questions for Deputy Chief O'Connell?
I can start with a couple. It might require one of the three guys behind.
Absolutely.
How many existing tons of AC does the building have now?
He's got to get his calculator out.
As long as you're doing that, how many total new tons? It looks like it's 35?
35 what, John?
35 tons, I believe.
Yeah, so are you talking about over the 5 units existing?
Yeah.
No, I think it looks like they're putting 35 new tons in.
New tons or?
Well, the whole new system is 35 tons, I believe.
What's the point on that?
Well, the point is, if I take 35 tons, and I think the square footage of the building, Chris told me it was
33,000.
33,000. That's 850 square feet a ton for cooling? This seems like not enough to begin with.
I do 750 in retail.
Office is about 350, 400.
45 tons would be approximately the new capacity.
The existing.
the new capacity.
Aren't you putting 3 units in on the new? 12 and a half, a 15 and a 17 and a half? 10, 20, 30, sorry, 45 tons, sorry. 45, you're right. But still, it's maybe 700 feet a ton. Just, I'm assuming those calculations are done somewhere and.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Come on up to the mic.
Yeah, and going back, what's the existing? Do we know that yet or no? Okay. And is there an engineer of record that would be responsible for this?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's an independent or trained engineer or?
Sure. Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, good question. The train, so this is being procured through what we call Train Turnkey Contracting Solutions. It's a specific division run out of our, our Chicago, Central Illinois office for this. And so what that entails is it's a comprehensive, no loose ends offering, as Officer O'Connell referred to, and that includes an in-house licensed mechanical engineer that works for Train that fully developed this solution, actually a team of multiple engineers, but one in particular that is for this particular project, will serve as what you referenced as what would typically be an engineer of record. He's an in-house professional mechanical engineer, can stamp drawings, and fully developed this solution.
So if this.
So it's all developed
So if the
in-house.
solution doesn't work, we go back to him as engineer of record? from
You,
the design?
you go back to us for 100%. Yeah. So the project is fully developed by Train internally. We do not outsource that. The contract is single source through Train. Any subcontracting required for any scopes are not extra. They all funnel through us, only one contract. We project manage them. We have a single point of contact project manager that facilitates and manages the work along with the village. And then, final punch list, execution, and turnover, and then, we own it all.
Right. Yeah, so maybe for just other members of the board that don't know a lot of HVAC, I know enough to be in trouble or get in trouble. So, it looks like those units were redone in 96.
96, that's
right?
correct.
And today's 22.
Yes.
Those are all end-of-life units anyway.
Yeah.
Totally agree. But, other than room control, what would just be the cost of replacing those units?
I can't say that off the top of my head, but I would, you had for the material itself, is that what you quoted in your presentation? I had not heard that before, and that was from a couple years ago.
Approximately in 2021, we had our maintenance vendor look into this specific question. At the time, they gave us an initial quote of $150,000. But after that initial review, we were told by that maintenance vendor that our compatibility, we aren't compatible with new equipment, the new RTUs that would be going on the roof with the existing control panels and all of the equipment that runs internally in the building. So that's where I began to look at a much larger scope of a project because we weren't even compatible with purchasing new units for the roof.
Yeah, because that's surprising me somewhat, because it's only 26 years. We work in buildings much longer than that, older than that we replace units. And again, in 96, it was replaced, engineered and everything. So temperature difference between rooms and things, maybe things got modified over time. That affects that, but to go from 150, 250 to 550.
That's huge.
It's a big number. In 26 years, even your system today in 26 years is going to need to be replaced. It don't last 26 years. I mean, right? So, yeah, you're talking 20 years is a long time for an RTU. Right. Right. Okay. And in your price, there's a lot of demolition, reconstruction of ceilings and things, I take it? It's all part of that? But it's all part of your number.
You guys come to the mic. Thanks.
So,
We would have the cranes that would be required to install the rooftop RTUs on the roof, and all the ductwork that would be required in terms of the modification with the ceilings within the office spaces as well.
Or you'll fix the ceilings and fix everything?
Absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
And if you don't mind, I'll elaborate on that just for a little bit. So in addition to the 3 rooftop units totaling the 35 tons of capacity, there are 5 we're consolidating into 3 for more efficient, attacking the zones more efficiently. But in addition to that, the equipment beyond that, and this is not scope of work, this is a pure equipment, is 3 rooftop curb adapters, and then 24 each variable air volume boxes.
Totally understand, right.
Yeah, and then 2 new electric panels, and then all the associated work. It's a very invasive job to replace the entire
Right.
system.
Okay,
All 24 of those boxes are at various locations within the city.
agreed, right. And then a new system, because you're doing new electric panels,
Yes, because,
it's a reheat system.
absolutely.
So on those rooms that are cold today,
Yep.
you're gonna have heat running in the summer.
Absolutely. No, so the VAVs, what's going to happen is the functionality with the VAVs, it works on pressure. And why we won't have that is the VAV boxes will start modulating depending on the airflow that's coming in and what the requirement is in terms of the set point. And if the set point is achieved, the dampers, the VAV boxes will start closing down. So you would not have the overheating and the overcooling that you have in the present scenario with the VVT system.
Okay, so where would the electric heat pop in?
The electric heats are part of the VAV boxes themselves, so they come from the factory pre-installed.
Right, but when
And
will
why?
those turn on?
So those will, they would work throughout the season. So if somebody wants heat at any specific time, even during summer, that specific space, that specific room is now getting custom, whether it's heating or cooling.
Right.
The units will work,
And in the winter, the new RTUs are electric or they're gas?
they're gas. They're gas, right? Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's the existing gas units that you have right now.
So you're saying in the summer, those electric reheats should not go on? Or they will?
It depends on what the set point is by the user.
Right.
So if the user says that they want heat,
Well,
the
they
electric
say they
reheats
want
will turn on, but yes.
75 degrees instead of 68.
Yes,
They have to heat the air up to get to the 72.
correct.
Right.
So
Is there an operational cost difference between the two systems, replacing a new? Because here you're adding 400 amps of power.
So the newer system is more efficient in terms of operation versus the older system.
But wouldn't the older system have new, I mean, in 26 years, I assume they're more efficient too.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, consider.
The 150 versus the
Considerably.
550 is a big difference.
And also, when equipment has been operating since 1996, well beyond its ASHRAE life expectancy, recommended life expectancy, even when operable, that's well beyond, 9 years beyond. The equipment, prior to that limit, prior to that ideal 15-year replacement, its performance degrades. So at 1996 performance, you have probably not been getting that for the better part of 15 years. So the energy efficiency, despite the new electric panels, and what it sounds like, with the benefits of the VAV system, Officer O'Connell and Officer Hornstein, their current offices have to kind of experience the same things, whether or not one would like one or the other. Now they'll have the ability to regulate that, and while that might sound like all additions, it's actually wildly more efficient. It's on-demand cooling and heating, and you're only getting it when you want it.
How can you show us that?
So that is difficult,
analysis?
because in order to show that, in order to show anything, especially on train letterhead, you need to know exactly what is there. So it would require an extensive evaluation, engineering evaluation of exactly what is happening there. We have evaluated, we asked Officer O'Connell for the hottest month of the year from last year, and we evaluated the utility bills. We ran some numbers, and our engineers designed the system with almost an exclusive focus on energy efficiency, not just listening to what the pain points are within the facility. Our focus was energy efficiency with this design. And that was our primary driver. And then cost, of course.
Again,
Because getting, of
just
cost,
energy
of course.
efficiency, electric's not the most efficient. And now we're adding more all electric for reheat.
For reheat,
400 amps worth of power for that.
right,
That's a lot of reheat.
yeah.
How is that more efficient than gas, natural gas?
Okay.
I just.
So the VVT system to a VAV transition, the rooftops that are currently designed by the manufacturers are based on the system where you are basically modulating on the flow of air, right? Down the line, when you talk about spaces, it's almost impossible to get gas reheats at all of those locations. So the electric reheat provides the most
I agree with you.
efficient conversion of the system and most cost-effective and most safe conversion. Like you rightly said, yes, electric reheat is more expensive. However, the VVT system doesn't even meet code anymore. So if any of the new buildings that come up, and you can't have a VVT system that would pass code. The current industry standard is to have a VAV system with electric reheats, or the alternate that we actually looked at was having a boiler hot water system, but converting to that would mean we would have to run hot water pipes all throughout the facility, which was just, it's just, you have to weigh it with the financial feasibility versus the operation. So that with that analysis, it just made sense to go with electric reheat than a hot water boiler system.
So I know you mentioned the records room. How big is that? About?
What do you think? Probably,
Right. Are there other major rooms that have similar problems? I mean,
yeah,
we're talking
so
600
many rooms in the building have the exact same problem. We're on 5 grids. And so large sections of hallway and the roll call room, as well as 5 sergeants' offices, are all on one grid. The administrative wing is on another grid. Our investigation center is on their own grid. It used to be a dispatch center, so it had to have its own grid. Lockup is on a system with other office spaces throughout the building. So we have to have every thermostat at the same temperature to control the building temperature, in the simplest of descriptions. Yes, thank you. So the classroom that I was referring to, those are on 2 separate grids. So I have to turn the thermostats on all the other sections of the building to match the opposite side of the classroom.
Were there any upfront design costs for this process? If so, if you don't sign the contract today, is there a cost?
Typically in our train turnkey process, when we get past the stage of an approved executive summary of budget and initial design, there is an engineering fee that we assess if the project does not move forward for us to finalize our design. On this particular project, after the year Ankur had spent with Officer O'Connell and working through everything, and also with the volatility of the market currently, with unexpected price increases and prices being held firm for a very short period of time, Train Turnkey decided to forego that. And so we went to full design and full proposal at risk with no financial hook on this particular project.
I have a quick question. Obviously, our current system is inefficient, and usually an inefficient system means higher operating costs. Do we have any estimates of what we'll save in terms of operating costs with this new system that will be more efficient?
Electric heat.
I do not have that at this point. I do not have it. I could work on it, but go ahead.
Say again?
On the microphone, please.
Yeah, no.
So I don't have the answer to that specific question, but recently we had to replace a compressor for one of the existing rooftop units. That was a couple $1,000s right there just to replace that equipment, and they're getting harder to find with RTUs that are 26 years old. Our current maintenance vendor has done an amazing work Band-Aiding this system, but we're continuing to experience breakdowns.
I'm a little,
Yeah, I'm good for now.
I'm a little torn on this because in a perfect world, there's no question that, I mean, I think it's a good system. The train it's terrific, and if we were starting brand new, I get it. I guess I'm looking at this from the standpoint of the serious cost difference, ripping up the entire police station, putting in new ductwork. And I gotta believe, do we know how much, I'm sure in 26 years, the current system has gotten more efficient and more, and hopefully some of those problems you're having by zones, I just don't know what we're comparing it to now, because I would look at this and say, I think the whole fire department and police station have it's like two separate systems on top of it. So are we gonna have the same discussion, Rob, for the fire department?
So the fire department worked on upgrading their systems approximately 2 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe 3 years ago. And it was an attempt to make them compatible.
Right.
And the results were mixed at best. And they're continuing to have some issues. The rooftop units were replaced, the controls had to be upgraded, and it's, from what I've heard, is okay, but they're still having some issues with it. Less than desirable. And remember, these buildings are used, they're not like a typical office building where you have 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever. They're going 24/7 because you have people in there all the time. So it's being used at a much different capacity than you would in a normal building. I would say the fire department did its best to Band-Aid theirs, and I think they'll get a number of years out of it, but I don't think it was the optimal.
But these will be new, and I guess these will be new, and I'm wondering if.
These will be new, and I
going-
think it sets it up for the future for when you're looking at
Right.
equipment replacements, that the system will be in place.
I'm wondering if you're going from 5 to 3 in the trains, we would go from 5 to 3 in the new units as well, or they'd have to be, I don't know the next generation of the units that you currently have. That's why it's hard for me to evaluate. I just see a huge, almost triple the price.
Yeah.
More than triple the price.
Rob, could you speak to how you guys intend to pay for this?
Sure. So during the budget process last year is when Chief Hornstein and Deputy Chief O'Connell presented hey, we thought it was going to be this, but it looks like it's going to be a much bigger project. So we deferred this for 2 years. In the current capital budget for this year, there's $275,000 budgeted to begin this project. In next fiscal year, in the capital plan, there's $250,000 budgeted. So the project is budgeted and accounted for based upon the review that was done last year during the budget cycle. I would say if you're looking at the $150,000, it is an apples and oranges comparison, because the $150,000 doesn't provide us the compatibility to make the system work properly and efficiently. Because they're going to end up having the same problems, I would believe, if you just did RTUs, because none of the other controls are going to work very well with the system.
And that's what I don't know. I don't know what the next generation of the current system, I mean, I'm sure that it hasn't stayed the same.
Yeah, no,
It's gotten better and.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think the original design was less than optimal, and that's why we're here today. I think this does get us to a better spot. But we have been working on this. I know I mentioned to Brian O'Connell, was it a year and a half ago? I'm sorry, this project isn't going forward until it has more research, and we've had a chance to actually budget for it in the capital plan. So we've accounted for it, and there's the funds there to pay for it.
I get the accounting, I'm just looking beyond the accounting, to
Yeah.
the tax dollars, and I guess.
No, I appreciate it.
And if we're doing that, do we just do the whole damn thing, and are there efficiencies in getting the fire department done and get it on one system?
I don't think the building is designed to do one system. You'd be looking at some pretty significant building renovations.
Yeah.
Because in terms of the ductwork and the distribution, that would be monumental. And very disruptive at the same time for both police and fire.
Well, we want the police to be cool and comfortable, so when they come out, they don't kick at me, so that's good.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we'd ever be looking at trying to get them into one. The building just wasn't designed that way to begin
Okay.
with, unfortunately.
Can I just ask a clarification question? It sounds like this 150, and because it's out there, right? But it's not, to your point, apples to apples at all, because it's not even, you couldn't even, first of all, that's pricing from 2 years ago, and we all know that even if you could take $150,000 units and replace the existing 5, that's probably $350 now within kind of where the market is. I mean, I just want people to realize the astronomical increases in, building HVAC equipment and those things. But we can't, I mean, just to be clear, what I think I heard is we can't just replace the 5 units, right? It's not compatible because of this, what is being built today is not, cannot be just plugged and played into the current system. Is that correct?
So that is correct, and we'll have it confirmed with Train.
Simply, with the next generation of the 5 that are up there, that is what we're putting in. We're putting in the most efficient rooftop units, just consolidating into 3, same tonnage. But the VVT system that you referenced, correct, is.
But could you go to an old school,
Is-
like a 19, could you buy a brand-new 19, I mean, this is kind of the $50,000 question, right? Could you buy a system, or is there anything being manufactured today that could just be plugged and played into this situation? It sounds like not, because the industry has gone.
The industry has advanced beyond that. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And even if that could happen, it would not alleviate what we've heard is the majority of the problems, for lack of a better term.
Okay. And then my other question is about this issue with natural gas and electric, right? And I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, that more systems are going to electric, expecting the green energy turnover. And is that also part of this, or is that?
So, yes, electrification, should we call it it's decarbonization and electrification. So that is definitely a big drive within the state itself and within Cook County. We do expect certain regulations coming forth in the next few years that will have a big drive in that direction, because those units are more efficient in terms of their operation. And yes, so to answer your question, that is definitely one of the reasons why the industry has moved to the VAV system and have electric reheats down the line, because of decarbon electrification.
Okay.
There are already regulations on the coasts. They're usually always leading the pack in terms of energy efficiency codes that need to be put in place, but we are expecting those regulations to be implemented in the Midwest as well.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, those were my 2 questions.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the mistake was when this building was, when the last system was put in, because VAVs were available in '96.
That's true.
I mean, they picked the wrong system, period. I mean, this was just a bad decision by whoever was overseeing the design, because I know in '96 we were putting VAVs in office buildings all over the place. I mean, it was not, that was the standard for a lot of commercial office buildings, because it works. And it obviously works better than the VVT does. So I guess we're righting some wrongs of the past with some of this money as well,
Well,
whether we like it or not.
I'm sure it was a budgetary concern, right? Because those systems were expensive.
Yeah.
They always are, right? Initially.
I do have one more question about the ductwork. The need to replace all the ductwork. I've replaced stuff, I'm sure it's different, so I'm being a little naive, but I just thought in some situations, ductwork is ductwork. It's a way to transfer. I'm not sure why all new ductwork has to go in and at what expense.
Question.
So Nick is the project manager.
Mr.
From a standpoint,
Duck.
We're not doing 100% duct replacement. What it's done is it's redesigned to allow us to feed what now gets fed by a unit over here. There's going to be now a ductwork bridge built in to tie in existing ductwork. So at your outlets and above rooms won't necessarily change except for where the boxes are located. But just getting that main feed from another unit, there will be some new duct runs. So we won't be completely removing all ceilings and all ductwork, but there will be patch ductwork put in to now connect it to
Since you're going
another
from
unit.
5 units to 3 units, I got it.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I don't know if this is on people's minds or whatever, but first of all, Brian, thank you for doing the research on this. I mean, this is really
Thank you.
well done. Having said that, typically on a project like this, and we see it with contractors with street repair and all this, we get competitive bidding. We're essentially waiving competitive bidding here to get the all-in-one from a fantastic contracting company. I mean, I understand that. But what feels a little uncomfortable to me, and it gets to all of these questions, is we're hearing that this is what has to be done, We don't really know if there is an alternative. I guess we're hearing that there is no alternative. We don't know what the payback is on this project versus a hypothetical alternative. And we're just taking the pricing that is not even set because there could be increases from here based on when the contract is signed to when the equipment is procured. If I read that correctly in the material here, it says, what does it say? It says, with anticipated increases in equipment costs, the price of equipment portion of the contract could increase between the contract signing and the order date. These increases are unannounced to the vendor and will impact the proposed pricing.
So I don't want to, if you're finished there, I'll let Ankur discuss what we just found out this morning.
Oh, okay.
So basically, just as Tim mentioned, that we, in support of the project and the village, we've, taken a lot of leaps and bounds to get us to where we are today. One of those steps was also to say that once the project is signed, if there is any price increases that do get hit, we would not be passing it to the village of Winnetka.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But the, there was a comment that, that competitive pricing was ensured, and I understand you're part of this association, the procurement association. How do we know, how do we get comfortable that this is better than going out to 3 different vendors and getting competitive pricing? How do we
Trustee Dearborn, I'll if I could have the council's time for just a few minutes, I'll hit on 4 points. Okay, it's a great question. The turnkey discussion point number 1. The turnkey design build approach with Trane has had positive feedback from local governments I've spoken to. If there are any issues, you have one company, you have one point of contact, and they're responsible for addressing any issues that arise. By separating the design out, you may run into issues where a design firm claims the problem is with the builder, the problem is with the control equipment provider, which now you have fingers crossing, delays fixing, and respectfully, other departments that have had to go out for bid and did not use the turnkey are experiencing those now. The example of that is, and I don't want to bring up an old chief's name, but Vernon Hills Police Department is experiencing that same problem right now. They have had 3 turnkey projects with Trane in the last 3 years, one totaling over $1.2 million. The one project that they chose not to go with a full turnkey has resulted in nothing but problems with exactly the examples I've provided for you. So that's point number 1. Number 2, both the lead times on equipment and prices continue to escalate, as you can appreciate. This is true in HVAC as well. A separate bid for the design would add months to the process, further delaying the start of the project, resulting in further escalation of costs and labor. Number 3, Trane indicated that they would not bid on this project if it was released to the competitive bid process, respecting the contract with Omnia Partners. So when we say that there were only possibly 3 potential companies that could do this volume of work, we've now dropped it down to 2, which is a concern. Discussion number 4, we're not talking apples to apples when we outsource this to a competitive bid. You can have, obviously you're all familiar with MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. They may come in with bids on a wide range and are able to install but not design and implement correctly. So if you're asking me for those reasons, that is why I'm requesting the waive of competitive bid.
Okay, you've answered that very clearly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So what we're talking about, and I agree with Tina here, we're not talking about 150,000 any longer. That was 2 years ago. I don't know if it'd be 300,000. Even if there is a system, it would be a lot more expensive. So the delta here is probably a couple $100,000 now that they've capped the price, they've guaranteed the price. The warranty on this turnkey system for all the service that Brian's talking about is what?
It's 1 year from completion.
Of course, you'll negotiate that, I assume.
We can.
No, I mean, we just heard a long litany about how the turnkey is so good and so on, and I'm sure we could go beyond 2 years, or 1 year, or whatever it is. Hopefully that could be discussed.
Just one point of clarification, we're not waiving competitive.
I'm sorry.
We're not waiving competitive bidding. We're taking advantage of joint purchasing, which was bid on a broader.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that.
So it's nationwide, and then we're also looking at the scale of the state of Illinois as well.
My mistake.
So, yeah, I just want to make sure that.
I only said that, Rob, because we do competitive bidding
Right.
on so many projects.
Right.
And it's interesting when the competitive bids come back, as you know, there have been competitive bids for the police department. I mean,
Right.
Things come back, but we do know.
Well, we also use joint bidding for other.
items,
equipment and things like that, so.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing it. I just think that there was a little bit, for me at least, a little discomfort not getting to the alternative and seeing what the payback is and what it's costing. But it's not a $370,000 difference. I mean, that is
No.
not what we're talking about here. We're probably talking, I don't know, John, what do you think? 200,000,
Possible, yeah.
whatever. And the warranty should be longer than a year because a big part of this is the turnkey, the team that we're hiring to do this. We can't be 14 months here, and the file room is cold again. I mean, so I think we need a little more support on that front, but, we need to do this. I would say this, that the capital budget, with all due respect, I know that we talked about this for the capital budgeting, but we didn't have the full detail here, Chief, and so this is good to go through it, even though we were locked in on the capital budget in a way. I mean, we're looking at it fresh here, and so I think it's good to go through this process. And I hate to spend the money, but I don't know that there's a lot of alternative here, John.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in that, and this is personal experience, that, about halfway through my career, I saw the light and understood that when it comes particularly to heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, that design build, or what they're calling turnkey, is the only way to go. Because you will always have the electrician, and it's not just the electrician. Then you got the guy who does the low voltage work, all the control wiring and all that stuff. Then you've got the manufacturer of the valves, the manufacturer of the rooftop equipment, and they're all doing this. And then you've got another separate entity who is the engineer of record, that John, who's put the plans out there, and so he's defending his design, and you have no way of getting things done fast. And if you want to really see people get angry, is let them sit for 4 or 5 days when it's 95 degrees out, trying to get the air conditioning back on, because everybody's doing this routine. So I definitely buy into the design build system. I am very disappointed that alls we get is a year warranty on this thing. For Christ's sake, I get a 5-year warranty on my residential equipment.
Right.
All day long. All day long. So, I mean, we'll move this thing.
I was thinking 5.
What my preference would be at this point, does anybody from the audience want to speak on this, by the way? Okay. What my preference would be is let's introduce it tonight and ask Rob to go back and get some better results on the whole warranty situation, because that just seems obnoxiously short, that we're going to drop over $500,000 on this, and in a year we're bare naked, and I don't like that.
If I can add a couple things?
Go ahead.
Along with the warranty is one thing, but at some point, even though you finish work, let's say you finish work June 1st, we have to be happy with the control of the rooms and temperatures and the design. So it's more like the warranty isn't so much the equipment, but if it's not working right, it's almost like a year after, or some term after acceptance of the system, after going through a full season. Meaning
I think
4 seasons,
but
all 4 seasons.
To your point, it's residential or 5 year. I mean,
Well,
I don't think it's 1 or 2 years.
yeah, it's a warranty versus
5
to
years.
make sure it's a design properly too.
Yeah.
Because what if all of a sudden you find out it's all designed wrong?
I'm with you.
Now, I'm assuming it's not gonna be, but who do you go after, right?
Yeah.
If it's past that.
Who maintains the system?
We do.
That's my next item. In your proposal, is there a ongoing fixed maintenance agreement for the next 25 years?
Too far. Pardon me?
We don't want trained.
No, it's not included, to answer your question.
Yeah.
We often provide that through our trained service department on turnkeys such as this, but it's an additional,
Yeah, we should at least see what those numbers are.
Okay.
Because I know the more bells and whistles and electronics, you don't just call ABC Heating and Cooling, they come look at your units. It's a whole specialized, train-approved person that should be doing your work, and probably 4 times a year or something. But we should see those numbers, at least have that option. And it's always a pretty good idea to use that option if it's not crazy.
Trustee Swerk, when this building was renovated with the extensive HVAC work, we stayed with the contractor for a period of years, and then once we felt comfortable, we could go out to the market, and we did.
Good, good.
So,
And then the monitoring system, is it like a whole remote monitoring system is this?
Yes, so it's a building automation system for monitoring, yes.
Okay,
The remote, of course, would depend on the access outside the facility, but we would have to coordinate with the IT team to get that, make sure it's secure.
yeah,
But it is.
right, okay.
Uh,
So, go ahead.
We also wanted to address the warranty. So the equipment itself, as I understand, the compressors would have 5-year warranty, and the unit, but the unit by itself is typically 1 year. But if there is, we can look at offering a 2-year warranty on the project. So essentially, what would happen is you would have at least maybe 2 sessions of summer and 2 sessions of winter to go through and make sure that the system is functioning. But as DC O'Connell has already spoken to a lot of references, this is a sort of a bread and butter and pretty common project that we do with a lot of municipalities, changing from the traditional VVT system to a VAV system.
Right. So part of that warranty,
Yeah.
in the contract, will it be like, you'll hold temperatures at a certain temperature in all the rooms? So it's not just a unit design problem, it's also design warranty, that we're giving temperatures on your design.
Yes, so the temperature design, when we talk about it, the liability would be that the unit is able to deliver a set temperature, right? So the rooftops that are installed, they would be delivering a specific temperature. So yes, that's the reason why we give the 1
Good
year,
with that.
1 year to 2 year.
But what about all the other controls to get to the temperature of the room?
Yes, so the temperature of the room is all dependent on what the user sets. So that is not something which we control. It would depend on what the set point
Well, your
is.
design basis has to be, let's say, 72 degrees.
Right, so we.
If their records department is 64 and it can't get it warmer, they're not gonna be happy.
Right, so our design would guarantee that the 72 is coming from the unit.
No, see, it's gotta be
And-
to the room, otherwise they're spending $500,000.
Sorry?
It should be to the room, because the one biggest complaint
No,
we have is that the room is too cold.
yes, so the system itself addresses that issue. The VAV system, how it's designed is to address that issue. The moment you take the whole voting system out of it, it eliminates the overcooling and the overheating within those spaces.
So you should be able to say that the rooms will maintain temperature.
Absolutely.
Have
The
that in writing.
rooms will maintain the comfortable temperature, yes.
But that temperature number
The-
should be written down somewhere.
Well, that's ASHRAE.
Well,
Isn't that dependent?
no, but
Well,
to the
you guys are
design.
meeting ASHRAE standards, right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yes, the design is based on ASHRAE standards, and the unit also is ASHRAE, of course.
well, would 65 degrees be ASHRAE for summer?
No, but the 65 would be the set point on the user, and then the unit would be, the VAV box would deliver the cooling or the heating based on what the user set point is.
Right, but the VAV box doesn't work properly, that room may be hot or cold, correct?
I'm sorry, can you say that
If
again?
the VAV box is not working properly or not designed properly, that room may not get the right temperature.
Yes,
We want to
Yes.
guarantee for $550,000 that that records department is the temperature they want,
Right.
72 or 74 degrees.
But
If
there
you're not
is-
guaranteeing that, we're going
Well,
backwards.
But then,
Chris, aren't we saying well, I don't know what people are saying, but it seems that there's some consensus that the turnkey makes sense. There's some consensus that Officer O'Connell's done a good job in putting this together, but we need to see a warranty, and maybe our friend next to you, Friedman, needs to look at the warranty itself as well. And we need to be comfortable with the warranty, so we introduce it.
Right.
In the
Well,
meantime, the warranty comes in.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
but I just realized this is a resolution, so there is no introduction. Can we introduce a resolution?
You can just defer it.
Okay,
So I can get a,
that's probably what we're gonna do, guys. And
Yeah.
But we
But
just
for
want to see the
clarifica-
warranty.
But clarification, we're talking about warranty on equipment,
Right.
so each unit and each, rooftop unit, there's warranties on equipment, but you're looking for a guarantee
Right.
about that
What's the
system will
Right.
operate.
So he's saying that the
to extent
guarantee on the unit is that the air coming out of the unit at the roof
Right,
is a temperature.
well, that's what a manufacturer would.
Distributing it
Yeah.
through all the new ductwork and all the new
the
VAVs.
reason why we're getting it.
He's saying, well, it may not be right.
I didn't
They're
hear
not
that.
warranting that part.
John, I didn't hear that. What
Okay,
I
let's
heard
clarify.
was,
We have to see
you
the
know,
warranty.
let's just bring this thing in for a second. You guys are designing it, you're building it, you're installing it, you're actually manufacturing and providing the equipment, which is
Absolutely.
another step beyond what most design-build contracts consist of.
Absolutely.
We need assurances that the system is gonna is going to, thank you, operate in accordance with current day 2022 ASHRAE standards and all the other SMACMA and all the other stuff, right?
Yes.
So that we have assurances that your designs that those standards were used in your designs, and we have every expectations that we're gonna achieve them. That's the design side, John.
Right, but every job we do, that includes mechanical, the front sheet, basis of design, room temperature, summer, winter, humidity control
Right.
should be in there. And it's just.
It is.
those are
Give us the
numbers
tables.
In the
Yes.
rooms, yeah.
Yes, so,
You got it.
There's-
But into the actual room.
I know exactly what you're.
yes, humidity control in the room is there, yes.
I'll clarify a little bit. So,
Sorry.
I'm not an engineer, but my minimal understanding of it from the years of experience is, so the rooftop unit right now, it's 90 degrees out, or it was today. The rooftop unit would crank out 55-degree air, and it would be set to that. Then the reheats in the room would reheat to whatever temperature they want to. The units would ramp down as more rooms reach temperature, you push less flow, that's all the efficiencies of it. Humidity control is the same concept. You lower your set point of your rooftop unit to get some of that humidity out before you send it down through reheats, and then you reheat it to get room space. So you also have the humidity control as part of that. So that's kind of the easy way of explaining. It does have both options for that control, and that's the advantage of reheats at each individual space at the VAV boxes versus VVT dampers, where if you're in humid space and these rooms are all satisfied, it's not gonna now remove humidity. So you are gonna add an element of humidity control to your system as well.
Agree.
Okay. Brian, I think what we gotta do is bring this back for the next meeting with some additional information. I think we're okay, but we definitely, as you guys are hearing, there's a lot of stuff we need to see. Give us the charts, give us the standards, explain to us what the performance standards are, and we also need to see language that goes beyond the equipment and also gives us some assurances that your design is gonna function in a manner that we're expecting it to, not like the old system. So we got a little bit of work to do here, but, we can bring it back in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, 16th.
I've got 6 things, maybe points that I just would like to see come back somehow. One is obviously the maintenance agreement we talked about. I'd like to see an analysis of operating costs, because the man just now
They should
said
know
that in the summer, your cool air is being reheated. You're paying electrical bills for that. So I like to see that. Totally up to the police department and the village. Just a very quick, informal, second independent review of another engineer, or possibly the current
I think
maintenance
that's,
guy of the system. You don't want to do that.
I think
Okay,
that's, I think that's too
I'm throwing it
much,
out there. Old ton versus new quantity, that'd be nice to see. And warranty description of the equipment and design.
Right.
Because it's not just a warranty on the equipment.
And
it's
we also
on
have
the
to see
design.
equipment, compressor, all the pieces, because I know there's varying limits on all those things. The VAVs, you know, let us see something that lays that all out, just so we have the information necessary to make a good decision.
That's it.
Does that make sense?
Thank you for your time.
You did a great job,
Thank
Brian.
you, yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
You really did.
A lot of work on this.
We'll get it over the finish line. Okay.
Yeah, it's gotta be, it's a separate meeting. You gotta ask.
All right, again, now for the third time this evening, does anybody in the audience, would they like to address Village Council for public comment again? Seeing none, I can close the public comment session again. And we will now move on to item 6, which is closed session. May I have a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing the sale or lease and related compensation of village property pursuant to Section 2C6 of the Open Meetings Act, and to adjourn the open meeting automatically and immediately upon the conclusion of the closed session without the conduct of any further business or comments? Question mark.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes?
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
We stand adjourned. We'll be